You represent District J, which is the most diverse of all the districts. And can you maybe talk a little bit about how that experience of living overseas in global cities influences the way you think about your district and the city as creating a welcoming place for a lot of different people from all over?
Yeah, so I mean, when I grew up in Houston, I thought Houston and Texas was the end all be all. It's the Texas way to think that it's Texas versus everybody else, and so I never really had an interest in traveling until I got the chance to play internationally, and I started to see how big the world was, and start to have such an appreciation for different people and perspectives and cultures and backgrounds, and that has definitely shaped who I am as an elected leader of a very diverse area. I think it's the most diverse area of the most, diverse city in America, where 75% of my constituents speak something other than English as a first language at home. And so we have about 250,000 people in our district, and they come from all over. And it's a melting pot of different ethnicities. And what I enjoy about that is I get to learn. I learn a lot about, different people's backgrounds, their way of thinking, their perspectives. And so I'm always trying to think outside the box and not be too extreme on one side or the other. I'm a pretty centrist, moderate Democrat, and that has helped serve me well when it comes to just being open-minded to different people and different perspectives. And so these past 6 years on council representing that type of district has definitely been extremely rewarding.
And talk about what it's like to campaign and then do constituent services and outreach when you have so much diversity, about both in terms of language, obviously, but also maybe in terms of understanding, what role the city council plays, what is the function of a city versus a county versus a state versus federal government.
Yeah.
What's it been like to engage that many people who may have such different understandings of how government works?
It's interesting, looking from the outside in, a lot of people didn't give me that great of a shot to win this seat because we don't have any predominantly black neighborhoods. And usually in politics, you have identity politics that plays a role to where you're usually knocking on the doors of people who kind of look similar to you or have a similar background. But in my case, that was not it. I was the youngest person in my race. I was the only black person in my race, and there was 8 other folks that were campaigning for this seat. And we had to make our message stick to a very, very diverse group of individuals. And so I really tried to approach things from a quality of life perspective and try to teach people on what, the role of the city council member is, and, how they pay property taxes and sales taxes every single day. And those dollars should be coming back to their communities in some form or fashion in services, and that you should have someone that is representing your interests at City Hall. And so I stayed very, very moderate when it came to just economics and quality of life issues when I was knocking on those doors and going to different apartment complexes and churches. And so you have to find those trusted sources within their own community that speaks their language, that comes from their country, that have their similar backgrounds, to then have them buy into your message, and then they go out and spread your message to their community. And so it was a different dynamic of trying to figure out how to best campaign with that type of landscape. And many people that come from all over the world, they have no trust in government. Right. And then the people who live here, especially being in the South, you sometimes don't have an appreciation or familiarity with people outside of your own ethnic race. And so being able to get them to buy into someone who was younger, who may look different than them, was a challenge. But what I saw, that we had so much more in common than any differences if we just took the time to sit down and talk to one another about the things that make our communities thrive. And we all want the same things regardless of who you are, where you're from. You want to live in a safe area. You want a place where your kids can thrive. You want great economic opportunities for yourself. And you want to be somewhere where you just enjoy being on a day to day, whether you live there, work there, visiting. And so once you tear away all the labels and get away from all the boxes, we have a lot in common, and that's what I tried to share with the voters.